Years ago, she sent her son to the lands in the north and forbade his return. His inheritance and rights to the throne are forfeit, but he lives. Surely the goddess will not choose someone presumed dead, she thought as she stared out of the window. 3 figures approached her chamber, the guards escorting a man. He seems familiar, but surely it isn't him, she thought. My instructions were clear. Her fears were confirmed when she opened the door. Her precious boy had grown into a man. She warned the guards not to breathe a word of his arrival on pain of death. Behind closed doors, she was overcome with mixed feelings. Anger that he had disobeyed her. Joy had been reunited with her only child. And grief for Lady Fate had done her dirty. Adoke explained that he had received word of her demise and had returned to fulfill his duties as her son. He would not abandon her in death. She froze at the sound of the doorbell. Had the guard snitched? Or had someone recognized the prince upon his arrival in the city? She told Adoke to stay out of sight as she opened the door, ready to raise hell like a honey badger at whoever dared take her son from her. Gods and Beliene to be damned. The acolytes of the goddess Igina bowed in respect and demanded she release the prince to them so Beliene could be cleansed. She, wielding her blue-flamed twin sword, dared them to try. Adoke stepped out from behind his mother. She tried to reason with him, warning him of the folly of his actions, but he would not allow blood to be spilled for his sake. He kissed his hysterical mother and left with the acolytes. Centuries ago, the goddess Igina had demanded Amanayabo Urubebe's life as penance for desecrating the sacred pepper farm and eating the sacred pepper. Since then, once every 7 years, one of his descendants was chosen to cleanse the land or risk the wrath of the terrible goddess. The sea roared as Belieneo to watch in anticipation. The high priestess poured libations to the goddess. Adokie was ushered into the ceremonial room. His mother rushed to grab his hand, but he gave her a boyish smile, telling her how proud he was of her love and strength, and how willing he was to lay down his life for her and their people. She released his hand and stood stoic as he was laid on the altar. The high priestess drove an obsidian dagger through his heart. His blood was collected in a calabash and poured onto the sacred pepper farm. His heart and entrails were burned in the sacred fire. His body was immediately prepared for the journey to the afterlife. He was dressed in his princely robes and placed on the deck of an elaborate ship with purple sails pulled into the sea by 2 boats. She broke tradition by riding in her son's funeral boat, but she would not be denied. Far from shore, she ordered the leading boats to cut the line to the ship. She poured oil on her son's body, then on herself, and sat in front of him. Gods be damned, she whispered as she set them both on fire with a flame from her middle finger and a smile on her face.